Going on, guys? It's your boy Az. We are back here. We are pretty excited here. Cosmic Crucible, the first season, will be upon us soon. So today we're going to be taking a look at what I will be currently, hopefully, be using for defense in the first run of the season here. And it is interesting. We'll go over some of the new trait rules, but of course, room 1 and 2 will be under some new rules. They will be under the global rule, which is the Age of X. Hero mutants will get basically a huge buff. They'll get some extra damage. I think 50% damage, 15% damage reduction, extra focus, extra resistance. On turn, they will be able to clear the revive once and immunity from all enemies. So that's going to be really wicked to see. And then, of course, as well, defending characters will also have a 20%, the extra 20% health and damage. So that's going to be for rooms 1 and 2. And as you guys can see here, we do have, I think, some suitable choices. I think first and foremost, most people will have a lot of Axemen leveled and farmed up already due to the Doom mutant nodes. So I think that's a reasonable choice to make, especially because they are also hero mutants. Other choices as well would include X Factor, of course the Uncanny X-Men as well. Those will be some good choices. Both teams are, I think, pretty built up. Most people will have the X Factor built up for Adam Warlock unlock, so I think that's going to be probably pretty straightforward. It'll be interesting because they do have a bunch of these extra bonuses, and as well as the fact that they can clear the revive once, so that's going to be very advantageous, especially against teams that can revive, especially like, for example, like Infinity Watch. There's Dormammu as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they fit into the new global rules. So I do like this global, the global Age of X. I think it's very nice to kind of reinvigorate some of these mutants. Stage 3 will be a Spider-Mania. So basically, Spider-Verse characters will basically get Safeguard for 2 turns and the Deflect. So this is going to be really handy, I think, if you're using Web Warriors, if you're using any of the Spider-Verse characters, like previously, like the symbiotes as well. I think the Web Warriors are still a stronger choice, and hence why I have them there. They are pretty leveled up because of the Scourges as well, and being used in Dark Dimension 5 and previous other Dark Dimensions. But they were pretty solid teams all around, including Doom Reigns as well. Not so much right now in Doom 3, but of course they're still a very, very solid choice. Stage 4, that's kind of one I have up in the air right now. Global characters, of course, as you guys can see here, we go into the slot here and we go into global. Lots of global characters. Particularly this buff is interesting because they basically gain offense up on the end of the turn. So I mean, lots of different global characters we can utilize here. What I would recommend is utilizing characters that are quite strong in terms of offense. So I mean, Doom already gets that offense up when he has all the minions up, so I don't really think it's gonna be that much of an advantage of having him there. But I'd say other characters that do a lot of damage, for example like Zemo, he's gonna blow things up with his basically his passive, so that'll be interesting. Characters that can crit, Kestrel would be a solid one, but unfortunately she's not global, but she does hit really hard. I think any of the Secret Avengers would probably be a solid choice. Like I said, Zemo. Support characters like Mr. Sinister as well actually probably wouldn't be too bad because of the fact that he can clone, and most people will have him built up. LDS would be a good one as well, especially we'll get to that later on. But of course, if you're switching, if you're putting legendaries in the last stage, which is the Tales of Legends, that's going to be the last one, and we'll talk about that more in depthly later. But if you're breaking up some of the teams from other teams, like for example, if you broke up your Darkhold or you broke up your Weapon X teams, and then it would be kind of a good idea to sub them there, especially for characters that can crit and deal a lot of damage. I think LDS is one of the better ones. She is just nasty to deal with. Agatha, Like I said already, Wong, they're very solid characters. Even without Morgan Le Fay, they're fairly strong characters on their own. And then of course with other Darkhold members, they can still form a lot of synergy with each other. Taskmaster, Ghost, those would be good ones as well, I think, just because they get that offense up, and they do have some pretty high hit points, so I think those would be solid choices. Gambit wouldn't be a bad one as well, especially if you don't have Rogue with him and you've broken up the team a little bit. Same with Phantom X. So there is a bit of synergy we can use here. What I would recommend, of course, if you are gonna stick with like a team synergy and you want to stick with everybody on this team, it wouldn't be a bad idea to stick in. It wouldn't be a bad idea to stick in your basically the I'm drawing a blank here. I'm sorry, Rogue and the rest of her team, because of the fact that they are all in this team, and you can basically put in Sunfire and basically the other members of her team on here. Fairly good team as well. Of course, you do eat up a legendary in the process, but it is worth it because they are a Cosmic Crucible team. And then finally, the last stage before legendary is the biological temperament. This one's interesting as well because they apply offense down to a random enemy that doesn't have the offense down already. So basically, a lot of damage mitigation. And this one I'm kind of undecided as well because we have so many bio characters. And keep in mind, a lot of these Spider-Verse characters are also in that bio category. So we do in fact have some pretty solid choices already. If you're not including the symbiotes or the web warriors, because some of them are bio. But again, if you're breaking up some of the teams with other characters, if you're breaking up your Infinity Watch, if you're breaking up some of your other teams that you've used in other areas, then you can basically slap them in here. But what I would recommend is probably what I have here is I'm probably thinking about a Young Avengers variant, because we do have Squirrel Girl, we have Miss Marvel in there. We have there's a bunch of bio characters we can already utilize, and of course they have synergy as well with the other Young Avengers in this as well. If you want to slap in who am I thinking here, if you want to slap in a war team as well, you can put in Captain America if you have him leveled up. If you have so interesting. Like I said, I don't think it needs to be a complete bio team because I don't think that offense down is going to make that much of a difference, but that's Young Avengers. If you want to slap in your A-Force, if you want to slap in your Inhumans, those would be good choices, I think, especially because there are a lot of bio characters on those teams. So, yeah. And last but not least, we'll talk about Legendary, the Legendary stage, which is very interesting because I think a lot of people are going to be deciding if they want to break up some of their key meta teams, their Darkhold, their Weapon X, Infinity Watch, because the buffs on this stage are just incredible. So the legendary characters get damage. On spawn, they also get 3 turns of defense up and safeguard. So they get 3 turns of safeguard, and that's on spawn. So even if they get defeated, even if you take out 1 or 2 characters and you're not able to get them all down in the first attack, you have to go back in again, and they've got 3 turns of defense up and safeguard on spawn. So I'm assuming that second and third attacks, those buffs are gonna reset and stick. And then of course on turn, the legendary characters will remove all negative effects from themselves and also gain speed up. So these characters are basically going to be on roids. They've got the defense up and safeguard already, so they can't lose their buffs, and then on top of that, they also remove negatives and they get the speed up. So this is one that I've already tried to kind of wrap my head around, where I probably want to fill this this specific stage with as much legendaries as possible, because when you get so many buffs, the 3 defense up, the 3 safeguard, I think it's ingenious. It's going to create a crazy team, and of course it leaves the theory crafting, and I'm always up for a little bit of theory crafting debate. Having said that, this might also be a strategy that Scopely is planning so that it breaks some of the key meta teams up, so that way people aren't relying solely on, for example, like the Unlimited X-Men with Rogue and her team. Weapon X with Omega Red, Infinity Watch with Adam Warlock, and of course, because of that fact, we break up our teams quite a bit. And I mean, right now, I'm not 100% sure on what exactly we will use, but of course, we do have some viable options. And what I will recommend here is the fact that because we do have so many different variations of legendaries throughout the times here and through the course of the years that we've played this game, you definitely want to stick with the more recent ones together because they have formed more of a synergy, and probably people have not leveled up the other ones as much. For example, I'll use Magneto and Nick Fury here. Pretty solid on their own accord if they're with their respective teams, but if they're off on their own and with these other legendaries, I'm not really sure how the pairing will go. Having said that as well, Nick Fury, for example, he can form quite well because he does have the buffs he can provide to his team, so he can provide a synergy. However, he does bring the minions, and of course, whenever there's minions on the board, that does leave your team kind of prone to certain countermeasures. For example, like symbiotes, where they can kind of rough off of the minions and build off their speed, or you can leave those minions and they will be the perfect bomb for Icarus and Xerxes to take advantage of and basically blow the entire team up. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens here with the next run of the Cosmic Crucible, and I'm pretty excited to see the type of theory crafting involved. Right now, I think for sure Omega Red, Morgan Le Fay, and Rogue will probably be at least my slot in there, and of course I have to figure out who the other two are, but I think Doc Ock fits in a nice role because he does have the heals and he can flip the positives as well on the opposing team. Adam Warlock would be a good choice as well because he is one of the more recent ones and he can do a double stun. But like I said, lots of teams to think about. Jubilee, she can also throw the stuns and the blinds, but of course she's also on an earlier stage. We had her pegged in with the other hero mutants because it is a very nice global buff for them. But yes, Shuri would also be a good one as well. She's very solid with her defense up and her heals. Iron Man's kind of wonky. Yes, he forms pretty good on the Bionic Avengers, but still haven't really seen that if he's going to be a contributing member for this team. But like I said, these legendaries are going to get a ton of buffs with the 3 turns of defense up, safeguard, the removal of the negatives, the speed up, and then that's not even including their own positives and negatives from the other team members as well, from Shuri and from Morgan Le Fay. Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy team. So this one for sure, I'm not 100% sure on who I'm gonna focus on, but I know for sure Omega Red, Morgan Le Fay, and Rogue will be kind of that triple threat on that team, and I got to figure out who the other 2 members are. But yeah, that's pretty much it there. So like I said already, tons of new changes to the new stages. Looking forward to the first season of Cosmic Crucible. Like I said, stage 1 and 2 will have that global rule with the mutant, the Age of X, I guess is what they're calling it, with the increased damage, damage reduction, resistance, and focus. And then of course they're gonna be able to clear that revive once from enemies, and then they'll get the global buffs of the 20% health as well, so that's kind of nice, and increased damage. Spider-Mania, the Spider-Verse characters will gain safeguard, and they'll also get deflect, which is really nice, especially because Bionic Avengers have been used to counter them, so that would help greatly. Stage 4 is global heroes will get that offense up. Again, I'm not really sure 100% what team I'll be utilizing, but lots of global characters to pick from, and like I said already, you want to pick ones with higher offense points so they can really take advantage of that offense up. Stage 5 is where the bio characters gain that offense down to a random enemy. That one, I think you're probably better off just sticking with a team you're comfortable with. Like I said already, that's a complete team. Probably going to be looking at Young Avengers or some sort of other bio A-Force variation. A-Force plus maybe some other member. And then of course stage 6 is the legendary buffs, where they get a ton of defense up, speed up, safeguard, and they're able to remove the negatives. So that's all we got this one, guys. That's a rough lineup of what I'll be utilizing, and we'll have to make sure that we actually have enough offense teams as well. keep in mind when you are planning these teams for your defense, keep in mind as well, think about the counters you might use as well against your own teams, because very likely you'll be running across the very similar teams across the first season here, and I'm sure there's going to be changes and whatever once the season progresses. But hopefully this has helped you guys out, and good luck with the first season, and we'll see you guys in the next one.